Today, with the daily close, XRP showed us that the last day confirmed that it is closing in red, while the day actually went as low as 0.449, which means just below 0.45, and it closed near 0.4637, exactly almost close to where we are right now. What does that actually mean for us? One of the key perspective you need to lay out here is the current region of price fluctuation, and what you see, say for example in the MACD, is something similar to what we have seen before. You break below the moving average on a daily, that's a 21-day moving average. You break downside and then you come back up, retest it, consolidate at that range and get rejected to make a new low. So if you actually look at this, what's common? You actually got a break to the downside from the 21-day moving average. You went on to retest that. You got rejected. Now here you are trying to make that as a new bottom. But what's going to happen? Look at the MACD here. Last time when you actually saw the MACD coming back up, trying to close it there and it got rejected, a bounce to the downside, the price continued to follow to the downside. If that's true, now what is going to be a key level of support which we should be eyeing at? And one of the area key range we should look at is this particular range of support resistance, because that goes back almost to last year, June, July. So that kind of gives you a long-term perspective about the buying range for XRP as an asset. So if you are interested in buying this asset, and if you are considering more buying opportunities, this can be one of the key range which may need your attention. Now, yes, that may not be the only thing which you should be looking at. For sure, you should look at the macro, where it will be a weekly chart or a monthly chart, whichever you would like to look at. And you're looking at what the price action is doing right now, because it just touched the 21-day moving average on a weekly, and we are still waiting for the weekly close. Now, we would really like to know, like last two candles here in the bullish side of things took around 4 candles to come down to that range. So if you actually look at that, it's just like 2 bulls equals 4 bears in that scenario, which means bulls are really stronger at this point of time. So even on that perspective, if you actually look at 0.41 as a support level and the price need to break to that level, what does that actually mean in terms of the entire market, the macro side of things? See, dollar is now at 103. It bounced from below 102 and now it's at 103. If you actually look at the stock market side of things, this is like the big cap coin asset in that market, and it is slowly grinding higher, higher, higher. It's a weekly. You're making all-time highs, but you're not actually getting a massive momentum. You're in the overbought zone for sure. MACD is grinding higher for sure. But if you actually look at the momentum side of things, you don't actually have too much momentum to the upside. Then you look at the Bitcoin. You're seeing that Bitcoin coming down and it is close to 30,000. What are we looking forward to? Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. Now, while we discuss about the price action, we do understand that dollar value is important. While dollar was bouncing off from this range, which the divergence showed us a little bit earlier, we actually posted this in the group saying, guys, keep this in your mind because the price action can actually bounce. And then what happened? We went above that, and I told you guys, this current drop is just a retest. Most likely we're going to bounce higher, and that's what we are watching here on the short-term narrative. You broke to the upside, you came back down, you retested that, and you're bouncing back up. Now, does that mean you're going to the skies? No, most likely that's not the case. You're actually looking at a divergence forming here. You're actually looking at some level of weakness, but these speeches from the Fed chair and all these central bankers out there, they're actually giving you more bullish narrative for dollar as an asset. Now, I don't think it's a safe haven asset for sure, but the market does believe it in that way. So I'm actually looking at this in a way like, okay, last one weekly candle here, which was bearish, was like on 12th June. So that's the week starting there. And then it was like on the 19th, right? So the week which actually ended by this 18th actually shows you that bears actually won, and right now bulls are finding it hard to push it back through to retest that level. So I would say bears are still weighing in here. We didn't actually see a big candle wiping all these bears out. So keeping that in mind, if dollar gets rejected to the downside, now that is positive for us. Say if you actually look at the divergence side of things, the hidden divergence actually comes up when you actually put in a lower high here at a time when you're making a higher high on the RSI. So that kind of gives you on a weekly chart, macro divergence is forming. So even if the price is actually coming as high as 104 on the dollar index, we may get rejected. Now, what does this mean for the crypto market? Now, especially while we watch all these news and narrative explosion about the positivity on the payment side of things, yes, it is true that there is massive news cycle happening right now. There is massive adoption phase just starting. And we're still so early in this ecosystem that even though we have been here for like 5-6 years and we feel like it's been so long, the prices are not going up. If you actually look at the total population of the world and the technology and the level of adoption compared to what the population is doing now, we are not even one person who has been adopting this technology. Now, while you watch institutions like big guys entering the same ecosystem to make the network effects, it gets bigger and bigger. And that's where the payment market as a whole becomes valid, because XDC, Quant, XRP, XLM, all of these are actually competing in the same space and micro environments. But that entire target audience, the transaction side of things, is big. It's too big. So all of them will get their own market share. When nations like the Europe, Brazil, Japan, Australia, all of these are actually moving forward, especially with UAE and others, doubling down on the side of digital assets, yeah, for sure, US is taking a step back. They're walking back. But education has always been key. And that's where Binance and CC Binance kind of stands out. They're always building on something. They're always doing something, which actually is positive for the entire crypto market. Now, even though that's true, we actually see these guys, the central bankers, coming out and saying, the inflation is sticky. It's not because of us. It's not because we printed a lot of money. It's because of the Russia. It's because of this. It's because of that. They put in this narrative, and now they're saying we need more hikes, yeah? Right? The inflation is sticky. I don't think inflation is coming back down to 2 this year or next year. So we may actually have to hike the rates. And I'm like, So you inflated the supply of currency. Now you want to drain that supply as well as people's bank accounts. So that's what they're literally doing. Why? Because they want the inflation down. They want you to lose your job. So that kind of narrative is happening in the market. That's the macro side of things. But then you actually watch these kind of posts where you're like, wow, that's an explosive price target. Meaning if XLM can actually do this, we have literally watched how XLM and XRP moves. And if there's actually the target zone, then that is a massive target. Now, for me, I wouldn't actually say 37. Rather, I would stick somewhere around $5 as an average and say $3.5 to $6 would be massive, right? We've been buying onto this asset, adding onto this asset for like 3-4 years, right? We got the opportunities, we doubled down on this. Now, if you actually go look at the same asset on the shorter time horizon, say you're looking at the price action, do you actually see the price going up? Yeah, for sure. But the volume now looks a little bit red. The price action looks like it is forming a hammer candle. Now, yeah, for sure. We'll have to see where that particular candle is forming. Is it at a resistance? Is it at a support? So we see this as a previous level of support. And that goes on further when we extend it like this. And what do we see? That level of support resistance has stayed valid for a long period of time. And now the price action is slowing down with a hammer candle at that range. What does that mean? Easy. We have this breakout. Now we may come back down to retest it. That's one way of looking at things on the trend side. Now, if you look at the horizontal side, you can say, okay, this was the previous high. We broke that range. We may come back down to retest that. Whatever is the case, you may have a better buying opportunity. But if you are like, okay, I'm a macro guy, this is where the price action is right now. You literally went lower. Now we are consolidating in this range, and I think you're going to go up, blow off all the way to 3, 5, 10, whatever dollar target you have in your mind. Now that's a massive rally. Even if it's $1, that's a 10x from where it is now, right? Even if you're saying like it's a $5 target, not like $50 target, that still is a massive win. Why? Because you do understand the fact that the trend line, the long-term trend line has been broken. You're consolidating and trying to move upside. And historically speaking, such time periods in the market, when you break this level of pattern resistance and do this consolidation, you actually move up. And that move is not that small. Last time we got around 29-30x in XLM market moves. And that's actually great, considering the entire market move was like around 35x. So you got a decent ROI structure in the last time, and XRP was a little bit slower, around 12-13x. Now, that's XLM side of things, and that's what you're watching, right? When you zoom in, you do see that opportunities can actually arrive. It can actually drop a little bit in value, and it may give you some opportunities. Great. Now we look at XRP on that same side. We got this particular candle, which is a hammer at the resistance. Now, why would I say a resistance? The previous support turning into a resistance. Even if you actually extend that, it acts as a support before. So it is acting as a resistance right now. So to avoid confusion, on the basic side of things, you can actually remove all this and just go into the price action side of things and say like, okay, we are moving up and we are getting resisted on this particular range. I understand that. Great. And there would be a lot of people who are also asking that. I do note the fact that there is a short-term trend line like this. What do you think about that? I'm like, yeah, that is valid. As long as we are inside that, it is valid. That's like the short to medium term trend line. However, we do have a medium to long term trend line like this, which is also valid. Now, the question is, how do I think about this properly? Do I think that this is going to break and we're going to come back down to 0.6? You cannot neglect that as a possibility. However, we do understand this level is valid and important. So if we come back down, instead of us getting the actual rounded bottom, which we discussed before, like this, we may actually see the market doing, a confusing move, which may actually come up and end up like a macro double bottom. Now, have we seen this before? Yeah, we have seen something similar, right? So if you actually go back looking the price action of XRP, we wanted this to break higher right here at that point of time, right? We wanted to see the price breaking through, going, parabolic. But what happened? The price action actually went down. It actually made a cup and handle pattern. Now, if you want to put it as a double bottom, whatever, that looks somewhat similar, but you get the perspective. Now, for XRP as an asset and the price action based on those who are involved in buying and selling XRP, this pattern is not something new, right? If you actually zoom out, look at the macro pattern, you're like, okay, whether it's the long-term bulls in this asset or short-term bulls in this asset, they are all thinking same. They are all trying to look and do things almost similarly because we're getting this pattern on the macro side of things. We are watching the same exact pattern on the short-term narrative. And it is giving you a break to the upside. So if you want further understanding of what this price action does, this pattern breaks to the upside and moves up. Now, if you want to actually look at what the ROI structure was for that move and where we actually went up, you can see it was above the measured move. So when we go up more than the measured moves. But it is for sure safe to take your profits at that range of measured move. Now, what does that mean for the current scenario, right? You actually look at this in a way like, okay, if that's the case, if that's a possibility in the market, then I'm looking at the price action and saying like, okay, let the price action actually come down. Where is the bottom going to be? If you're going to put in a higher low, it's going to be really great. It's going to be decent danger. Why? Because at that point, you may not actually be getting a buying opportunity at 0.41, because if you put your order there, that's a danger. There is a possibility that the price may actually bounce off from 0.44 towards the bottom range here, which would be 0.435. So if you are considering buying this asset and you're looking for further opportunities, I would argue that, okay, look at that range as well. Yes, we just touched 0.45, which actually gives a lot of certainty of we coming back down. And when you zoom in on an hourly chart, you're literally watching that one candle took the price to the downside like this. That was the volatility. After which it actually took like 4 candles to come back up, trying to push back higher. Now, what exactly is happening on the institutional side of things? They're actually shorting this asset, selling this asset. Okay, they borrow the asset from an institution, they sell it in the open market, put more weight, so the price actually drops. Now, when the price drops, for them to take their profit, they need to buy back that asset and give it back to where they borrowed. Now, they make the difference. Say I borrow 1000 XRP at 0.47. Now I sell it in the market and I wait. When the price reaches 0.45, I buy the same 1000 back at a lower cost, and the difference between that cost is my profit. I give it back to where I borrowed it from. So that's how the shorting actually works, and we have actually seen this working out. So that's like the covering side of, buying side for covering your short, right? You're actually doing that. Now, once that happens and you're going up, and that itself is getting rejected on a shorter term, of course, you're looking at it on a shorter horizon, before the previous level here, now it kind of gives you a trend formation to the downside. Now, you can actually use a line chart, which literally makes things a little bit more easier to understand here. You form short-term bases, and then that break of that short-term base gives you the idea we are going down. So the next leg, which you should be watching on XRP side of things, should be around 0.45, around 0.46, close to that range. If we break that to the downside, yeah, we are going down. The question of how low actually depends on where the previous support resistance zone was. And if you actually go back, the range of 0.46 itself was a support before. Now, yes, of course, it's an hourly chart. So you are looking for some volatility and some standard deviations to play out, because this is a short-term time horizon. But this actually gives you some more idea about where the market is actually moving and what it is looking to do. Because on a 4-hour chart, when you actually go on hourly candle, a 4-hour candle, the single candle they shows you was just the last bounce, was just the short covering. It was just the inside candle on technical side of things, and next candle may actually come back down to 0.44 or something even lower. Now that's like, okay, then Bitcoin is also slowing down. That's weighing in. We can actually see some level of opportunities coming in the market. But say you're already in the market, you bought into this asset. Now you don't actually see this as opportunity, even if it is. You're saying like, it's delaying the time horizon. I have to wait a little bit longer. Now I'm also in that category because I've already packed my bags from a long period of time. But then we actually look at what's happening, right? We do see there is a level of support forming, but the level of concern actually comes in when you actually observe this as one local high, and then this as another local high, after which you got this as another local high. So that would be like, hey, that's something I really don't want to see on the price action, because that can push the price to the downside, maybe 28,500, right? So you actually drop that horizontal level here and you try to make sense of things. Okay, is it going to be a big range? I think there is a possibility that it can be a big range from this level of standard deviation up to this bottom, which actually happens to be really wide. So the average can be 28,500, but we can still see some level of volatility coming in at 29 towards 27,500. So that's like $1,000 range at least where we'll get massive volatility. But to invalidate this, price action literally has to break through the moving average first, and confirm that this base is strong and put in a higher high. So what should that look like? Because right now, the line chart actually gives you the idea that it doesn't actually look like we are actually completing that move. To complete this, you need to actually break this level. Say you actually go up, which means this level of support has been broken as a resistance, and now you're testing this level, which was a level before that. So now that kind of shows, yeah, you may actually come back down here, but now you may go back up. So there is a level of consolidation happening before you eventually bounce back up. So that consolidation phase is where you may actually see XRP coming back lower to that support. Now, that's where things are interesting for other assets, right? We just talked about XLM. Now, on the market cap side of things, when you are looking at this, you're like, okay, we're waiting for that particular drop to come here and give us an opportunity to buy back this asset. While you think about that on the macro, and we are here almost at the end of this month, I would actually urge you to look at the market cap and how that's playing out. Because the market cap right now shows you that it is moving bullish. Now, what do I mean? You look at the RSI, you see we broke higher, we came back, we retested the moving average, we bounced off. Now we are testing a resistance for sure, but we did get a bounce. We did get buying coming into this market. So if this month ends a little bit positive, that shows we have a possibility of moving much higher. Now, in terms of price action, it may not be like the 10x we are talking about. It's just a 50% move. But that 50% move in the price action would actually make a lot of people bullish, and those who are not even recognizing this asset right now are a little bit more FOMOing into this. Now, at the same time, we have already noticed the fact that these two assets tend to move together or almost similarly, right? If that's true, based on the history which we have seen, we are about to see some volatility. And if the volatility is to the upside, it's positive. We need to actually see that. Now, waiting for the confirmation is the boring thing you have, but when the price was here at 0.5, I told you guys we're going down. And I remember when we were at 0.42, I was saying we're going to go up, when a lot of others were giving you we're going to go down. Now, when we reached 0.5, I was saying, okay, now those guys who were selling you that we're going down at this point is now saying we're going up, which means we're going down. And that did happen. From that 0.52 level, we are right now at 0.46. Now, we are going to test back at that support. And at that time, most of these guys would sell you the idea that, the price is dropping, so we're going to go further lower. And then the price goes back up. So the cycle actually continues. So if you are like, okay, that's for XRP, that's for XLM, I understand this is what Bitcoin is actually showing. But when you actually go back into the market, I do see some of these assets making small moves, small breakouts. Are they really going to have a big run up? Yeah, some of them are getting rejected. Some of them are moving to the other direction. So if you are actually interested in getting all those macro, micro updates on the market, especially crypto market and the assets and opportunities in this market, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below. So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done that already. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye for now.